Miss Erin, and welcome to Simply Science. Today we're going to talk about some simple machines. A simple machine is something that's used to make work easier. It has few, if any, moving parts. They work by changing the direction or amount of force needed to move an object. Today we're going to learn about three of them. We're going to learn about levers, wedges, and inclined planes. So let's get started with levers. A lever is basically a plank or beam that rests on something underneath it called a fulcrum. You're probably the most familiar with that in the form of a seesaw. So I've reconstructed one here with a binder clip and a popsicle stick. So I could put my load on one end, push down on the other end, and it's going to lift up pretty easily. So there are a couple different types of levers. So the first type is going to be like your seesaw, where your fulcrum is between your force and your load. So in a second class lever, the load is between the force and the fulcrum. So your fulcrum is going to be the center, the load is going to be your staples, your force is when you press. Another great example would be a wheelbarrow. It's kind of not really room to have a wheelbarrow in here, but with the wheelbarrow example, your fulcrum is your wheel, your load is whatever's in the wheelbarrow, and your force is where you lift up on the handles. In a third class lever, the effort is between the load and the fulcrum. So another example would be with a shovel. So you have load, force, where you're pushing down, and the fulcrum is where you rotate it. So our next type of simple machine we're going to talk about today is a wedge. So the next section of things here are my wedges. I have a knife, I have a pie cutter, which can also serve as a lever, I have a letter opener, a putty spreader, and, weirdly, a nail. So a wedge gets thinner at one end and can be used to split, cut, tighten, or hold things back together. So with my knife, I have my thin edge that I would use to separate something. I would do the same thing with my pie cutter. I would cut out a piece of pie or cake, and then I would use it as a lever to lift it out. My letter opener, I'm going to slice open my envelope. With my putty spreader, I'm going to use it to smear my putty. My nail obviously will be used to attach things. This is probably a wedge you're pretty familiar with that's used to hold open a door. So I can also have a wedge with this nifty gadget. This is actually a pineapple cutter. So it has a wedge right here, which is a sharpened blade. This also is going to serve a little bit like a screw as well, as you stick it into your pineapple and turn it. So my last example is with an airplane. We came outside with the airplane so that we would have more space. This first airplane has a flat edge, so it's not going to cut through the air quite as good. This second airplane has a pointed edge like a wedge, so it should fly pretty well. Oh, the breeze caught it, but it still went better than the first one. Our last example of a simple machine we're going to go over today is a ramp, also known as an inclined plane. It's going to make it easier to move something from a higher surface to a lower surface, or vice versa, from a lower to a higher. So I'm going to do a demonstration with it, with some eggs and a piece of cardboard. So with a ramp, you can have it be a short distance from the top to the bottom, but that's also going to be a little harder. This is the egg that I just rolled down the short, tall ramp. It actually cracked a little bit. We're going to test it out, making the ramp longer, and see if the egg does better. So this ramp is the same height, but it's longer. That should make the landing of the egg a little bit easier. Let's try it out. So that egg actually rolled pretty far away when it got to the bottom. Let me grab it and we'll check it out. So this egg is actually not cracked. It came down perfectly. So I would would like you to take a look around your house and see what simple machines you can identify. Let us know through Messenger what you find. Thanks for tuning in with the Lincoln County Public Library. We look forward to seeing you again soon.